Hey, when we left off, I had just finished explaining what classes were. Now I'm actually going to show you how to code one. If you guys remember, there was some sort of like dog lab thing that we did in class, and that dog class was actually a class that I wrote. And I'm just going to show you how I wrote it, and I'm going to sort of connect it to the bigger picture and explain how you can use these techniques in your game and labs, and hopefully it'll help you in understanding how to actually code classes and how to really use classes and what classes are used for, etc., etc. Um, so let's start by typing up this class. I'm going to create a new public class dog. All right, open brace. We're going to go inside this class. All right, now between the beginning of your code and where you declare your first thing, well, okay, hang on, let me rephrase that. The first things that you want to declare in a class when you first start typing a class are the parameters. And these parameters should always have the keyword private in them, because you want to call them private integers and private strings, etc. And the reason for this is because, well, first of all, the it's coding etiquette, I guess you could call it, because you want to make sure that all these parameters are things that can't be directly modified from outside of the class. Like, I don't want to be able to, in some other client class, be able to just change the size of the dog by, I don't know, just by calling on it. It's Just take my word, just call them private. Don't ask. Just do. Um, Alright, so I'm going to create some parameters for this dog. Some parameters that come to my mind off the top of my head. Private int size. Um, let's see. Age. And that's fine. Alright, private int size and age. Alright, now I'm going to create private strings. Alright, I'm going to create one for their name. And that's fine. Alright, so there. Those are the parameters of the dog. This dog has 3 things about them. Okay? Now, once you're done creating your parameters, the next thing that you must do is create your constructor. And to do this, you type out public dog. Alright? And then you do that and that. Now, what this means is when I start typing the client class, I can just type in, dog Joe, or I'll just dog Joe equals new dog, like that, and that will create a new dog object in a client class. But this is not the client class. Right now I'm telling it how to create a new dog. So, right now I'm going to tell this class that if a programmer types in to create a new dog but doesn't give it any parameters, as you can see in here, there are no parameters in there, to create a dog with the name. Alright, I'm going to tell the name to equal lost puppy. Oops. Puppy. Alright, and this will make a lot more sense when I actually create the client class, but just bear with me. Alright, I'm going to tell its size to be, I don't know, 3. I'm going to tell its age to be 3 as well. Okay? Now this is only if, when we're writing our client class, we decide to create a new dog with no parameters. That's what it's going to be. Now, on the other hand, we're going to create another constructor, which means that you can create a dog in multiple ways by coding. So I'm going to call this the exact same thing, public dog. But now I'm going to give it some parameters in here. I'm going to say int s, int a, a, and name, oh shoot, string s, oh, n, there we go. Alright, now, this means that if I go into a client class and start typing in create a new dog, like again I'll do an example, dog Bob equals new dog, I would now have to type in an integer for their size, which would be 3, just random 5, their age, which I'm just typing in random numbers, and their name, Bob. This is what I'm trying to code right now, is a constructor for that. Alright, so what you basically have to do in here is set size equal to s, set age equal to a, and set name equal to n. Alright, so basically all I did in here is that I told it to take the inputs that are going to come in here and set these parameters equal to them. Again, this will make a lot more sense when I actually do the client class. Then I'll come back. Oh, yeah, I should probably save that. Save. Alright. Now, we're going to create some retrieving methods, alright? And retrieving methods, since, as you can see, these parameters are private, that means that they cannot be accessed from outside. But say, when we're doing a client class, we want to know the name of the dog. To do that, there needs to be a method that will give it to you. And this is how you do that. Basically, you write public int get size. Alright? Now, what this says here is, this is a method that when called will return an integer. Return an integer means that it will, well, return, it will give you an integer. Let me just show you. I'm going to write return size, because that's what this method is saying, get size. It's going to return the size. Public integer get age. Return age. Public string get name. Some naming conventions over here they might want to know is that you normally name methods in camel case with the first one lowercase, and class names are always all capitalized, even if it's multiple words. Its classes are always capitalized. Alright, so public string get name return name. Alright. Okay, I'm just gonna stop there for now, and I'm gonna start creating the client class. Alright, and these kind of Java documents are the ones that you've been writing since the beginning of the year. These ones are a lot simpler. Alright, I'm gonna write public class dog client, and in here I'm just gonna write public static void main. You guys should know that. String arts. Alright, now what I'm going to do is create a new dog object. And just like you would create a new string object or a new scanner object, like if you write a scanner scan equals new scanner system.in, you know how that's creating a new scanner object. I'm going to do the exact same thing, except I'm going to create a new dog. So dog Joe equals new dog, like that. Now, we know from the fact that I just, one sec, save this. Alright, we know that because I just coded this, if I create a new dog with no parameters, its name is going to be Lost Puppy, its size is going to be 3, and its age is going to be 3. So let's test that. I'm going to write system.out.println Joe.getName. Actually, let me show you this. Joe.name, because as you can see in the dog we have a variable called name, so write Joe.name. I'm just going to print that, see if it'll do it. Let's give it a shot. I'm going to compile. And I forgot to put a closing bracket over here. Compile. Right. Now, as you can see here, it says that name has private access in dog, which means it's not going to be able to print it because you're not allowed to. It's private. So, the only public thing inside the dog class that I can use to get the name is this method. So, I'm going to go back to my dog client and write joe.getName method. Now I'm going to compile it again. It has compiled properly, and I'm going to run it. And here, ta-da, we have lost puppy. That means that this constructor did its job. It set the name to lost puppy, because that's what it printed. So, now that we know that that is running, working, let's test something else. Let's create a new dog called Bob equals new dog. But now let's use our other constructor that we wrote with an integer, and a string for its inputs. So the first integer was its size. So I'm going to set this dog's size to 6. I'm going to set this dog's age to 4 and its name to Bob. Alright, and I'm going to ask it to system.out.println bob.getName plus, remember your string concatenation, I'm going to put a space, plus bob.getAge. Remember we wrote this class here too, and that's just going to return age as an integer. Alright, plus, put another space, bob.getSize, and close that, and semicolon. And let's give that a shot. No, stop. Alright. Oh, that's what it's telling me. Compile. Now run. Alright, so first it's printed lost puppy, and now, as you can see, it printed Bob, it printed his age, and it printed his size. And, that is what you can use classes for. Now let's get into some more interesting things with classes. Voids. Alright? Let's create a public void. Now, as you can see, all these previous ones, they said public int, public string, and they all returned that specific thing, right? Now, in this case, it's going to return nothing. So you might think, what's the use of a void if it can't give you anything? Well, voids are used most often when modifying the dog itself. So let's create a boolean, private boolean hungry. Okay, I'm going to call this public void feed. Alright. Now I'm going to say here, if hungry, actually no, I'm just going to write this, hungry equals false. Alright, and basically all that means is that in this public void, it's going to set hungry to false by feeding it. Okay, and I'm going to create I'll do a public string get hunger. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write an if statement. If hungry, so if the dog is hungry, return where I am hungry. Oh, feed me. Alright, let's bring that. Alright. Else. Return. This is in the case that the dog isn't hungry. Yum. Yum. And that is that. So, also we should set a initial condition for hungry. Otherwise, before here, hungry doesn't have a value, and hungry needs a value. So I could set it up here if I wanted to, or I could set it over here, so I'm just going to go ahead and set it over here. Hungry equals, well, let's say if it's a lost puppy, hungry equals true. And then over here, we'll just say hungry equals false. Equals false. Alright, back to our dog client. Alright, let's recompile that, make sure. Oh, I made a mistake. What did I do? Oh. Missing semicolons, as always. Here we go. Now let's recompile. Okay, now, back in our dog client. Let's see if Bob is hungry. And let's give that a run. Yum yum. That means Bob's not hungry. And that makes sense, because we said that if you create a dog with these inputs, it's not going to be hungry. But, let's do this. System out line Joe.getHunger. Now if we compile and run this, as you can see, Joe is hungry. And this is because we told it when you create a dog with no inputs, hungry equals true. It's going to be hungry. Now here is the use of voids. I'm going to do something to that dog. That's what the voids are used for. So I'm going to take Joe.feed. And then I'm going to ask it to print out whether or not it's hungry again. And let's compile that. And let's run that. Boom. Joe was hungry. I fed Joe. Joe's no longer hungry. And if you can sort of imagine this in your mind, you can see inside this dog class the Boolean hungry starting out as true, and then when I ran this little thing, it became false. One nice, easy way to imagine each of these little sections of methods of a class is like they're like mini programs that you can create inside each of these classes. Even in your main dog client, you can create public voids in here. Public void feed dog. Alright, and I can create an input for this feed dog to input a dog A. Okay? And I'm going to show you how you can use this. Alright, what I would do is I would just do a dot feed. Now as you can see here, instead of doing Joe.feed, what I could do is just call on feed dog Joe. Now over here you see the input is a dog. Over here I put in a dog. Now if I run it, if I compile it, what did I do? That's what I'm supposed to do. My bad. Static void. When you're doing them inside your like client class, you're supposed to call them static void. When you're doing them inside classes like these, they're called public voids. My bad. Anyways, let's try that again. There we go. Same exact output. And that's because, imagine again, Joe here is hungry. The hungry Boolean is true right now. Okay? And then we run this method inside our client class, which in there feeds the dog and prints this out again. And that really is everything you really need to know about classes. You need to know how to use these parameters. You need to know that you have your public ints and public voids. You need to remember that for every public string, if there is no return, you get an error. Missing return statement, pretty obvious. Every time you write a public string and stuff like that, you need a return statement. Some other common mistakes, these are not to be static. Static, if you were to do static, we'd say, alright, so let's imagine that all these dogs are at the same dog pound, okay? Static private string pound name. Alright, this is the name of the pound that all of these dogs are staying at. Now, what static is used for, alright, and let's set its initial name to always be, oh my gosh, I can't even think of a word, dog pound. That's original. Alright, so pound name is going to start out as being dog pound. Now I'm going to create, since as you can see it is private, I can't access it from outside of this class, I'm going to create an accessor method. Public void change pound. Okay, and it's going to have an input for a string, and I'm just going to tell it to do pound name equals s. And that'll just change the name of the pound. Now, let me tell you what this will do. So let's start out with, I'm going to go ahead and comment out from here down to here. Alright, now I'm going to print joe.get. Oh, I don't think I ever made one of those. I should create an accessor method for what the pound is. Public string get pound. There we go. Alright, return pound name. Alright, back here. Alright, joe.get pound. And if we run that, as you can see, the pound's name is called dog pound. Now let's change the pound. Actually, let me do this. Alright, let me print out Bob pound. There, same pound. Because I just said they're all in the same pound. That's what static does. It creates it to be the same for all of them. But let's say we change it for Bob. System.out .print line. Oh no, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Bob.change pound to evil pound. Make sure I got that right. Yeah, the change pound method inputs a string, and I just put a string in there. Now I'm going to print out system.out.println bob.getPound. Let's give that a shot. And as you can see, Bob went from the dog pound to the evil pound. But now here is the interesting thing about static variables. Joe.get pound. Because remember, I wrote Bob.change pound. I changed the pound for Bob. Let's see what happens. As you can see, Bob and Joe are all of a sudden in the same pound, even though I wrote Bob.change pound. And the reason for this is because it is a static string. This means it is something that applies to all of the dogs. And if you change it for one dog, it changes for all of them. So a pound is a good example for the usage of a static variable. I can't really think of any others, but that's what static ones are. And that's about all I can really think of that I could teach for classes. If you guys have any suggestions or some more ideas or comments, comment down below. Yep, that's about it.